Laurie-Ann knows her stuff, like totally transformed the way that I've been running the speaking end of my business. It's completely changed my mindset about getting gigs. Oh my goodness, things took off like crazy. You taught me how to go out and actually get the gigs and get the gigs booked. It gave me this sense of ease and competency and this satisfaction and this assurance that now I know how to make this happen. And that confidence has improved my ability to sleep through the night. Laurie-Ann is so positive and so supportive. When you work with her, you feel like you've got her in your hip pocket. There's always this voice of encouragement that you can reach out for and just check, am I on the right track? And then when the results start to roll in, at least 300%. I mean, it's totally revolutionized everything. It's so much fun to get in front of a crowd of people and share who you are and share what you do. You do your thing. It's so much fun. And then afterwards, they all want to buy things from you. And then I get paid to speak quite well. And then I make my speaking fee and more selling my product.
You are listening to Be in Demand, and I am your host, Laurie-Ann Mirabito. Are you a coach, a consultant, or a service provider? Well, you are in the right place because this podcast is all about how to leverage speaking opportunities as your best form of marketing, get positioned as the expert, and monetize your message. This is a speaker breakthrough session where somebody just like you from the audience has raised their hand to say, I would like a live coaching call. So if you would like to book your own speaker breakthrough session, stick around to the end and I will tell you how you can do that. Adam, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Laurie-Ann. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for, raising your hand for this speaker breakthrough session. So, Adam, can you just share with me, what do you do and who do you help?
Sure. What I do is help people, which people? Anyone who needs to connect and convince another human being. I help them understand the power of storytelling to do that. The unique power is the thing that makes us human, and nothing connects, convinces, and cuts through the noise better than a well-structured story.
Oh, yes. Where did you learn storytelling?
Well, really, I learned it at home. My dad was a trial lawyer. He didn't like being in the conference room. He wanted to be in the mix. And whenever he would win a big case, I'd be like, Dad, how did you do it? And he would say, I just told a better story. Wow. And he was the guy that at, any holiday party or whatever, eventually there would be a crowd around him as he would tell stories and everybody's laughing. And I'm thinking, I want to grow up to be like that.
Wow.
I've been studying it my whole life.
Fantastic. Okay. So who specifically do you work with? What's this anybody who needs to influence?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can get dial in a little tighter on that. Storytelling messages stick 13 times better than messages delivered any other way. So if you're a salesperson, you don't have to touch them 7 times to get them to remember. You tell a story and they remember. If you're a fundraiser, research shows that you will raise double. If you are a manager in HR who needs to oversee people or build corporate culture, a culture of storytelling will create employees who act in brand-aligned ways without further coaching. It really is the special sauce for so many aspects of business. So I don't want to give you like a squishy answer in that, it's kind of all these different people, but it really is a magic wand that anyone can wield.
Well, yes, you can help anybody, but as you may or may not have heard me say, I use a mountain as an analogy. And a mountain is an industry, a type of person. You can't climb, 10 mountains at once.
At the same time.
Yeah. So in all the people that you have worked for, and all the different conferences that you have spoken for, because I do know that about you, that you've done some speaking and stage work, what people have you just been like, these people, like, I love?
In that case, I would say the education industry has been it's meaningful in that the fundraisers, you can see their eyes like light up green in positive ways. They understand exactly how to apply this. But then classroom teachers will be in the same exact presentation saying, oh, I'm going to be able to connect with my students better. And that, right, whenever you're helping kids, that always feels like a day well spent.
Yes. Okay. So education, Who else?
Sales teams. Sales
Any
is brutal.
Yep.
And everybody wants to lead with data. And it is the wrong way to speak. It actually shuts down the part of your brain that can care.
Yeah. I used to, when I spoke in leadership, there was a line in my speech where I said, "What child ever asked their parents, tell me a bedtime statistic, Mom?"
Not
None. They say, "Tell me a bedtime story, Dad."
Yeah. And what's so fascinating is once the story gets rolling, then your brain gets hungry for data.
Yeah.
It wants that stuff and it can hold on to it as long as you do it in the right sequence.
All right. Sales team.
And I love that you're pushing me on this. Fundraising is a big one in that it's the purest form of sales, right? You give me your money and I will give you nothing. Like the warm feeling that you helped. But that's a form of sales that does benefit people who really need it, or the environment, which benefits us all. So actually, if I had to pick between corporate sales and fundraising, I'd rather help fundraisers.
Okay. And there's a lot of work out there for fundraisers. I have a friend, she speaks for philanthropy. She has a consulting practice. She doesn't like to do the work with hospitals anymore, but she does the speaking to get the clients, and then she brings them into her company, and that's what she is. She is a consultant to help them raise more money. So you're already networking with me, so I'm going to introduce you to her because
thank you very much.
And she's a speaker, so she might even be able to refer you to other conferences, which brings me to, one of the things that you wanted to get out of this call was to get in front of the right conferences. So one of them is building relationships with people who have hired you. Like, go back and start connecting with them and asking them, like, who else should I be talking to? Even if you're just doing market research, hey, what's new in the conference world? You got any sales trainings, that you need to have a speaker for? If you are speaking someplace, somebody else was just asking me this question. If you're speaking somewhere, actually, I think it was you in your email last night. If you're speaking somewhere, invite people to come and hear you speak. Invite them to see you. If you already know, like, hey, I'm going to be in this area. You're close to the Boston area, like tap into their conference. Like the Heinz Auditorium.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, like that's a big conference center. It's just one of many that are in the Boston area. Well, they have an agenda on their website that will tell you all the conferences that are coming. So that's a great way to reach out to them and say, like, hey, I'm in the area. Some of these agendas actually go months out. So they make a lot of speakers. Here's another one. I'm attending PodFest in a couple of weeks. And they did this last year, but I just realized it this year. This is a conference app. Well, guess what else is on there? It's not just PodFest. I can literally type in Boston, and any Boston conference that is planning on using the Whova app is already on there. Now here's the thing. This may not be this particular conference is coming to Boston or even Providence because that's in your area right now, but you could get on their list for next year. Speaking is a long game. If they don't need you now, but a lot of these big conferences happen every single year at the exact same time, or it'll be shifted by a week or two. So in other words, if you look up in this like Whova app, because there's a lot out there, there's not many, not many conference apps that are out there. There's usually they're branded, like Southwest, has their own app for their conference. But the Whova app is used for a lot of different conferences. So
I've used it at a bunch myself, just as an example.
Fantastic. So now you could start, this is something that you could, if you put a reminder in your calendar to look at it monthly, You could start building a list of all these different conferences that you're like, you know what? I'm going to look that one up, like this year's agenda. You start looking at what's there. What do they have? What's missing? What do you think is missing from their agenda? And then you want to reach out to them maybe a month after the conference. And you are just using my open the door to the conversation. You just want to know when they start planning and are going to be looking for speakers for the following year. And they will tell you. I was just at a conference in early December, and they said, just in conversation on the stage, that they start planning this conference in January. So some of these conferences, that's how long it takes them. I remember speaking to a meeting planner, and he said that event is already planned out. And I was calling them for an event that they had that was 9 months out. He said, our big yearly conference, 18 months. Yes.
Got the year.
Those bug eyes, that's exactly what I had. I thought too. You just don't know. That's why I have this open the door. You were just gathering information. You're not saying, hey, book me for your next conference, because the meeting planner on the other end is like, we already have all our speakers. So when they say we start planning for the speakers this is just an example, October, you do not send them information until October, because if you send it early, it could get lost.
Yep. Yeah, it's just in the pile. So, Laurie-Ann, one question that I have for you is, there's a saying that popped into my head one day that I just made my sort of unofficial mantra, not just professional life, but life in general. And that is, if you want to save the day, you got to serve the day. And the best way to sell is to find where somebody needs help. Go offer them help. No, they don't have to accept the offer of help, right? But when I think about, I have not been a meeting planner putting together a conference. So the only help that I can think of to offer is, hey, if somebody drops out, I got you. You don't have to stress. And I put together a mailing list, within about an hour and a half of home, that I can say, I am this many miles away, a little bit of Google calculation. Let me put that together. Are there other ways, what are the other stresses that meeting planners run into?
Okay, that's a great way to do this. That's a great way to do this. However, sometimes a meeting planner is just that person at the hotel, at the conference center. There is somebody at the company or the association that you really should be building that relationship with also. I have had clients who were meeting planners. And when I did once ask her, do your clients ever ask you for speaker recommendations? And she said, occasionally. She said, because we are in so many conferences and so many events, and we do see a lot of speakers, and we also have to work with a lot of speakers, so we know which ones we like to work with and which ones we don't like to work with. So they're just one piece of the puzzle. I also think, you need to reach out to the person who basically would be writing the paycheck. And that might not be the meeting planner.
Sure. So how do I figure out who that person is?
Okay.
And what do they have that I can
I knew
help
you were going to ask that. So let's go back to the Heinz Auditorium in Boston, example again. And when you look at their agenda, because there will be some sort of an Excel spreadsheet, it will tell you this is who it is. This is the name of the conference and the organization. These are the dates that they've reserved these rooms. And here's the contact person. And it will, there's a person's name, potentially an email address. Another great place that you might want to consider getting involved with is MPI, Meeting Planners International. They do have a Boston chapter. And they do send out, here's all the different events that are happening in Boston this coming year, 6 months, 2 years, whatever happens to be planned that they have dates for. But they send that information to their members. Or at least they did when I was part of that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's helpful. I went to a couple of events up at Patriot Place in Foxborough.
Yes.
And I talked to a couple of the folks just sort of working the event, like on the Foxborough team. Like, I found some people with walkie-talkies. It's like, is there a list that goes around of like what's coming up? And there wasn't one. I couldn't find one on the website. So maybe this is a way to figure out like what are the different events that'll be going into those places that don't publish the list.
Yeah.
Independent Association.
You're great with
Thank you.
relationships.
Thank you very much.
Continue like really strategically building those relationships and making the ask. All these different places that you have spoken for, I really want you to go back and speak with them and like, hey, it's been like 3 years since I spoke for you. I would
Well,
like,
you'll be
I've got
happy
to
to know
Go ahead.
that I just did a round of that very kind of outreach but not just because like, oh, I thought of this. I was listening to your podcast and I heard you say this to another person, let's speak a breakout session. I thought, great tip. I'm going to get on that before I have my session with Laurie. So thank you for telling her so that I could do it before you told me.
Good. And just keep building that list and constantly reaching out to people. I call it the daily vitamin. You want to like reach out to one or two people just to stay connected with them.
Yeah.
The reason why a vitamin works is it's not because you take 7 on Sunday. You take 1 every single day. So in this case, I tell people, like, once you start building that list, like, just reach out to people 1 day at a time. 1 person, 2 people every single day. Yep, that means on Sundays, you're probably leaving voice messages. But if you can at least do Monday through Friday, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. Good tip.
Yeah, then you stay top of mind. People remember you.
One of the things that I sometimes struggle with a little bit is emailing folks random. Like I feel very uncomfortable emailing to ask. I feel comfortable emailing to offer. Here's the thing that I found that could be useful to you.
So email to offer. Email to offer.
All right.
Like when we're talking about the ask, what I would love to see you do is to have connection calls with people just to reconnect with them. What's going on in your world? Here's what's going on in my world. We've got this new program. We're really going into storytelling. People love it. And if you know anybody, you're not asking them to hire you back. If you know anybody who would benefit from learning more about storytelling, I would love the warm introduction. And they might say, well, geez, Adam, yeah, it's been 3 years since we had you. In a month or two, we're going to start putting together our next conference, our springtime conference, our fall time conference. I'm going to put your name in the hat. Fantastic. What do you need me to do? When do you want me to reach out? And I will send you some information on a couple of potential presentations that I can offer. And again, so you're serving them, but you're serving them in a great way.
Yeah. And Laurie-Ann, the way that you said that made it landed totally different when you called it a connection call. My team is all over the place and always has been. I don't even go to the office anymore. I work from home most of the time. And it's just to have an excuse to reconnect with people that I've spent time with and we've enjoyed, working together, hanging out together, what have you. I think that I see a lot of just personal benefit in re-upping those connections beyond the professional dimension.
Yes. You just never know what comes of those connection calls. And so I call it a connection call because you want to basically reconnect with people from your past. And then later on, like after you've connected, then you can send those emails, every once in a while, or even pick up the phone and leave them a voice message or a text, hey, just thinking of you, I was at XYZ, like something that they like, something that they're fond of doing, someplace vacation that they've been on. You will find lots of reasons why you can just send somebody a little message. And again, it's like, you're just top of mind for them. Like how many people are doing this? Not many. I worked with a hairstylist and he was a very high-end hairstylist. And this was during a recession. And he, like 50% of his appointments were gone. And so I suggested to him, and just like, well, you need to like start reaching out, like 2 people a day of like your entire client list. And so I convinced him, he was like, nobody does this. But I convinced him to make 1 phone call on the way to work and then 1 phone call on the way home. He increased his bookings by 30%. He found out all sorts of reasons why people weren't coming in. I'm going to have an operation. I'm getting a knee replaced. I'm not going to be able to move around much. So I actually do need an easy hairstyle that I won't have to fuss on. Just different people, like just reaching out. They were just, they felt important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're just like, oh yeah, like I've been meaning to book an appointment. I need an appointment.
I think you just solved another problem for me.
What?
Which is, I've used HubSpot forever for cold outreach and stuff, but it's so overwhelming. There's so many names in there, basically all of whom I don't know. Mm-hmm. And to go in and create a list that is just the people I want to reconnect with. That's a list I would look forward to opening up and reaching out to, instead of like, there's always a good reason not to do it.
Yeah.
And this would feel a lot better. So thank you that you solved another thing.
You're welcome. Okay. The bill's in the mail. And I hope I'm on that list.
Absolutely.
Put me on that list.
You'll be the first one on it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Adam, what's 1 or 2 gold nuggets that you were walking away with today?
Look, 1 or 2. My gosh. First, creating that list of people to reconnect with, just to connect and be human. To take the medicine that I so often like to dish out about being really focused. And you did a great job of like turning that around and helping me realize there's a sector that I should go after. And then this also the strategy of how to go after venues that host lots of conferences and do the sleuthing to figure out who's behind them and reach out in a timeline, understanding like you plant now, you water and tend throughout several seasons, and then you can harvest, and okay, that's fine. But at least knowing when to plant, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Fantastic. So tell people where they can find you, follow you, and learn from you.
Laurie-Ann, they can go to Russell and Spark. That's RUSTLEANDSBARK. Russell like the sound, Spark like light, russellandspark.com/story. And you can learn all about the story practice there, or, general agency stuff, but that's not what we're here for.
Wonderful. And so I'll make sure that link is down below as well, because I think what you're doing around teaching people about storytelling is it's so important that we all need to tell better stories.
Thank you. And it's fun.
Yes, it is fun. Okay. Thank you very much. And if you would like a speaker breakthrough, hold on. Are you tired of hearing crickets on social media? Wondering where to get seen by the right people? Or frustrated with the growth of your business? Then the Speaker Breakthrough Session is just for you. During this free 20-minute discovery call, I'll help you recognize where you're leaving money and opportunity on the table. You'll walk away with tips and a strategy to leverage speaking opportunities to get positioned as the expert, visible to the right people, and monetize your expertise. Book your call at speakandstandout.com/SBS for Speaker Breakthrough Session.